Welcome to Success Today with your host, Jack Canfield, which is me. And I'm really excited today. I have a wonderful guest who's a leadership transformational consultant. Her name is Fran Alexandra, I love it, Brennan. And we call her Fran. Coach Fran is how she's known in the business world. I'm really glad to have you here today because I think leadership is so important right now. We see all kinds of examples of great leadership and bad leadership in our world at the moment. And I think what you're doing, teaching in your book is really important. So before we get into the specifics of all that, just give us a little background of how you came to be where you are right now and doing what you're doing.
Okay, well, first, I want to thank you for having me, and it's a great pleasure to be here. And I'm really excited about being on Success Today and that you named it Success Today. I'm like, wow, what leader, what entrepreneur wouldn't want to be successful, right?
Successful, yeah.
So a little bit about my background. I call myself a leadership alchemist. So think of the alchemist, the ancient alchemist who did the changing from lead to gold.
Mm-hmm.
So ordinary to extraordinary. So I help motivated and purpose-driven leaders to transform their leadership from status quo commodity leadership to effective, distinctive leadership.
So make that distinction from commodity leadership to distinctive leadership. What does that mean exactly?
Yeah, so think of a product
Mm-hmm.
and like tea bags or something,
Right.
a very commodity, same, nothing different about it, nothing differentiated. So it's the same thing for leadership, right? So you can be very status quo and just a commodity, doing the same old thing the same way all the time.
And did you grow up in a world of being a leader, or how did you come to this? What was there an event in your life or something that happened where you said, "Okay, I'm going to focus on helping people be better leaders"?
Well, what happened was I was in corporate for many, many years. So I worked with C-level executives and their boards. I actually was the right hand and sounding board to many of these leaders. And it was like my training ground, this, what I call my leadership walkabout, because I saw everything, the good, the bad, the ugly of leadership.
Right.
And it just fascinated me. And I was like, wow, why for so long has leadership had all these challenges and no one's been able to solve it? And, what's the root cause? So I, for a while, was an adjunct professor. I taught the art and science of leadership. I became the author. When I was younger, I had an entrepreneurial business. I started a fitness business, and it was called Body Buddies. And it was having people actually collaborate and have camaraderie together rather than any competition. So they would all learn proper body alignment together and actually have real results. So all of that melded together. And I was like, as I said, fascinated by, all this leadership and how it worked or why it didn't work. And then it just haunted me and it wouldn't leave me alone. And it just kept haunting me. And so I ended up doing my graduate thesis work on a new leadership foundation for the 21st century. And that brought me full circle because I was thinking about, wow, all these programs teach what leadership is, but nobody was teaching how to fix it, how to make that change that they needed to solve the challenges. So they're always fighting fires. They're always trying to manage chaos. And it's been there forever. And we haven't gotten rid of it. And I was like, there has to be a better way.
Can you give us a couple points about the better way?
Yeah. So what happened was, out of that thesis work, I developed a foundation, actually leadership foundation framework. And through all of the observing and evaluating leadership over the years, I'm like a patterns person, and I put everything in buckets. And so I started putting all this different information into buckets, and it fell into very specific 4 buckets. So I said, wow, I'm going to make my framework out of this. So the framework became 4 integrated foundation power principles. And that is what the leaders needed that was missing. So what was the root cause of their problem? The root cause was the fact that they actually were never taught a foundation. So most leaders have excellent skills and experience, but most of them were never taught what kind of a foundation to build with those excellent skills and experience.
What does that mean, foundation?
So their actual foundation of what I call these 4 integrated power principles. So it's based on trust and authenticity.
Mm-hmm.
It's based on emotional and social intelligence. It's based on serving leadership and chaos management. So it's really inner leadership work,
Right.
not your outer stuff, but the inner work.
Right. One of my friends is a leadership trainer and always says, it's all about the inner work that you have to do, about learning who you are and your own strengths and weaknesses and predilections and fears and all that good stuff. And nobody's doing that work. I mean, you are obviously, but in general, it's not happening for most people. And I think people are often thrust into a leadership position because it's the next step up. And there's no real transitional training to move into that includes this kind of inner work that you're talking about.
Yeah, it's a very limited, development for them.
Mm-hmm.
And if you think about building a house, it was like, what builder would build a house without a really highly stable, structurally sound foundation?
Right.
To weather any storm. Same thing for the leader. Without that highly stable foundation, how are you going to build with your skills and experience?
Right. I'm just curious. I think most people, let alone leaders, don't have that awareness of their foundation. Would you agree with that?
I definitely agree with that.
Yeah, I think it's a failure in our American education system that now is getting resolved at the higher levels in the corporate world. Obviously, someone said there's more education that takes place in hotel rooms now than in schoolrooms because of all the trainings that people like you and I do and so forth.
Oh, and I definitely agree with you that that foundation should start, much earlier in life.
Right.
And then build, into, here it is for your life, but then here it is if you're going to go into some kind of business.
Right.
Be a leader, be an entrepreneur.
Right. Let's look at each of those foundations for just a little bit. So authenticity and trust you started with. So how do you help someone develop that foundation, if you will?
So, well, first we start with assessing their leadership as it currently is. Mm-hmm. And then what I like to do is also start with reflective questions. Mm-hmm. Because most programs don't ask really reflective questions that disturb your thinking. Mm. So what I'm trying to do is say to them, what makes you relevant or trusted by your knowledge workers, right? Mm. What's in your foundation? I often get a raised eyebrow. So I'm like, well, do you have a foundation? Let's back up, right? And if you do have a foundation, how stable is it, right? Do you have 1 piece of it, 2 pieces, 4 pieces, like 4 pillars that would make it highly stable? Mm-hmm. How do you make it highly stable? So I ask all these questions to get them thinking. And then we get into creating a future leader vision together. We create mindsets, new mindsets for today. And then we put that together with the foundation principles.
Mm. And when you work with someone, you're brought in, I assume, by an individual or a company, and you're working with this leader. How long does that process usually take for you to get from point A to point B or whatever point B looks like, where these foundations are pretty much
right now I mostly work with individuals.
Mm-hmm.
And what I've done is taken the book, and from the book created some courses now.
Oh.
So I have an introductory free course that they can take that will introduce them to me and my work and give them some quick wins. Mm-hmm. And then I'm working on a workshop course because I felt that there was something that I needed in between, because I also developed the flagship course. So it will take them months. I know they don't like to hear that, but it will take, say in sprints, some short sprints that you can do 90-day sprints in the course and have some real quick wins.
So some of this is online and some of it's in person. How does that work?
So right now everything is online,
Mm-hmm.
and I haven't done, a lot of in-person work. Most of my in-person work was done when I was testing it all out.
What does success mean to you? Here we are, success today,
Yeah.
and you're working with leaders who obviously want to be more successful. And when you think of success, how do you define that for yourself and your work?
So it's two things. Like when I think of business success,
Mm-hmm.
I think of alignment. So it's aligning those principles, those values, your purpose, your people, making sure they're all marching in harmony.
Mm-hmm.
So, and really important that, when you have that, the team will collaborate and innovate with you, but only if they trust you.
Right, right. Trust is so
Yeah.
important.
And the second part is really personal fulfillment. So you want more balance. So it'd be really great if you had the time and energy for your kids, for your family, so that you might play around a golf, so that you could go on an adventure with that family and create a great memory.
Mm,
That to me is incredibly important.
yeah,
So I call it a triple advantage. So there is the professional impact, the collaborative advantage, and then your personal fulfillment. So with that balance and with that alignment, sky's the limit.
that's great.
That's success for me.
Yeah, no, for sure. So if people want to work with you, find out about your courses, where do they go?
So you can find me on my website. It's ldacoach.com. And you can also look up my LinkedIn profile. So it's LinkedIn, that's /IN/ then Fran Brennan -LDA.
Very good.
So the book is there, lots of information to get you started on learning about me and my work. And then you can also email me a nice invitation to have a talk, a free consult. Email me at fab@ldacoach.com.
Very good. Well, that's great. I think what you're doing is so important. And I really appreciate that you took the time to codify all that and say, okay, I'm going to make a difference here. The difference is very needed, as you know.
Yes.
And not just in terms of personal satisfaction, but also just in terms of organizations working, which are important to have a lot of stress out there. So thank you very much for joining us today. Really appreciate it.
Oh, thank you for the conversation. I am so thrilled to finally meet you in person.
Yeah.
And to making effective, distinctive leadership last for real impact and success.
Yeah. And if you're a leader or you're married to a leader or you have a friend who's a leader or you work for a leader, lots of places to refer people to Fran's work. So I encourage you all to do that because we definitely need better leadership that has these foundational principles that she talked about with authenticity and trust and so forth. Very crucial. So take advantage of this resource. And thanks for joining us today at Success Today, and we'll see you next time.